Hey everyone, Database here. How you doing today? You mind if I talk about Link for a while? If you ask me what my favorite Legend of Zelda game is, that's potentially a really long conversation. However, I do know what my favorite Links are, and I can rank them for you definitively. Every Link from every mainline Zelda game ranked S through D tier, because none of them are all that bad, based on two very important factors: aesthetic, costumes, all that, and their personality, their relatability, how much character lies behind said Link that I'm talking about. This can be a lot of fun. Please don't hate me in the comments too much. If you think differently than me, let me know in a nice way. And if you like this video or any other content on the channel, feel free to subscribe. Hit the bell if you want to see more. And like the video only if you liked it. If you didn't, I can take it, okay? Okay. Enough time wasting. I got a lot of shit to get to. Starting with Zelda 1 Link. It's the first design ever, and it has the perks of being it. It's hard to critique in earnest because it's a first draft. How can you hate on it too bad? Especially for the earlier designs with mainly sprite in-game models, I am going to be relying heavily on the illustrated art, just an FYI. I love his rough, gruff aesthetic. All the illustrated art that I've seen of him looks very stoic. I love the bag of tricks style look he has to his items that he carries on his back. Real 10/10 design, nothing too offensive, but also nothing too out of the ordinary. The in-game model is a classic. No one who's a relative Nintendo fan sees that shape and doesn't know Link immediately. And because of that, I'll stick it in the B tier. Let me take my buddy here in decent. Zelda 2. A lot of people don't like the game, myself included. And on top of that, I don't like the Link that much either. I don't think the side scroll look worked for him. It brings him from this solid, cute, compressed top-down design to this lanky, clunky. It's not fun to look at in any sense. And as a character, you don't really get much of a read on him. It's really giving Saturday morning cartoon. I feel like that take is relatively cold, but we can agree on D tier, right? Okay. Clearing bases. A Link to the Past Link. We got our first solid shield design, not quite the Hylian shield, but our first shield that looks like something and not just a two-tone cross design on a wood plate. The illustration for Link here is the best so far, by far. Also, no pants. You let that affect your rating how you want. This is also the first Link that I feel has an added level of narrative weight that makes him a little bit more relatable than prior Links. Finding your uncle dead in the castle on his last breath, giving you his weapons to be able to defend Hyrule, save your princess, win the day. That classic story. Link speaks to the player a little bit more, makes Link more of a character. Also, the in-game model is peak. I love the little guy. Different colored costumes, animated Link's hat as he walks around, different colored swords based on power-ups, same with shields. It was sick. This was a blowout title, and Link is represented fantastically here. Easiest A tier I've ever given. Our first very good Link's Awakening. I really love the addition of the opening cutscenes of these games. It gives a better opportunity to show off the illustrated Link, which I feel like you don't see much, especially in today's era. And it illustrates Link's story a little bit better to us. Stranded in the middle of a storm, on a raft, washed up on an island that we don't know at the time is a dream. The most unique story that Zelda's done up to this point, the franchise. A lot of fun thematically, and again, gives us a relation point to Link. Obviously, the great majority of us, I assume, have never been stranded in the middle of a storm in the ocean, on a raft, alone. However, that feeling of distress, loneliness, potential fear, we get to relate to Link in that way, versus old man in cave give sword. Also, the illustrations here, I think, go crazy. Real solid design all around. Not too many variants in costumes and colors as you go throughout the game, but it's still an A1 illustration. Good stuff. And on top of that, also an easy A tier, our second one of the day. Ocarina of Time. Oh, it's time for people talking. This is also the first time of the day where we can really delve into Link as a character, because Ocarina of Time represents it beautifully. The relationship that young Link has with the other villagers in Kokiri Forest and the pseudo-father-child relationship that he has with the Great Deku Tree set the setting of initial safety and togetherness in that game. Especially Link being so young, and a lot of us playing this game when we were young, had its fair share of mysticism being in this foreign place, but still relatability being in that safe space, if that makes sense. Also, the added emotional weight of leaving your home, watching your father figure die in front of you, and leaving your best friend slash assumed love interest, maybe, I don't know, in Saria. When I had to walk out on her and she gave me the present, I'm gonna be real, that shit hurted. And then coming back later as an adult and she's dead. Spoilers, I think, if you're watching this. Anyway, all that is to say that the story that they put Link through on top of the overall narrative of Ocarina of Time was emotionally gripping and gave me a lot to care about when coming to Link as a character. To move on to the visual, this design was absolutely iconic. Defined Link as one design, one look between young and adult Link, for a long time after. The bright blonde hair, the green tunic, his base kit of sword, boomerang, shield, the different costumes you can wear, the red tunic, the blue tunic, you got skins, Fortnite! And I believe, the first showing of the Hylian shield, which looked fantastic in this game. I also love the novelty of the Hylian shield not fitting your young body and using it as like a crouch shield versus when you grow into an adult and it's normal sized for you as a combatant. It's real nice. And also to backtrack back to Link as a character, the feelings that you go through of loss, love, pain. You watch your home get turned into a post-apocalyptic wasteland because you were gone for 70 years, realizing that it was your fault technically that Ganon got access to that power. It's a lot to take in. It's a lot to handle. This is also the first introduction of the mirror shield, which I think is a go-to design. Wish we had it in more games. Every iteration of the mirror shield has been exclusive to that game, but the introduction of the concept is still really sick. And not to mention the different boots you can wear the first time you can do that. The cold hard fact is I can't put these characters in anything but S tier. What do you say? Peak. It's peak! Also, if you're enjoying the video this far, what are you doing? Have you had subscribe? Maybe, I don't know. Like I try to put out videos when I can. You know, shorts most days of the week. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I'm just... Okay, my biases aside, this might be one of the best ones in terms of character writing. Majora's Mask is my GOAT, unequivocally. Visually, the young Link here follows the same design as Ocarina of Time, so there isn't much to say there, except for his kit, which we'll get into right now, actually. The new shield and mirror shield designs are really good. The screaming shield is a little nightmarish, but I like it and it fits in with the aesthetic of this game. The upgraded swords, oh my God, let me tell you, if there was a way to make the razor blade the consistent weapon, I wish. The Gilded Sword obviously being the most powerful, but the idea of being able to earn upgrades that stick with you over these time cycles is really cool. The addition of masks, not only the transforming ones, but the ones that you add to Link, created a lot of really cool visual variety that altered the character enough from our young Link iteration in Ocarina of Time that it did feel unique. And the transformation masks, oh my God, being able to transform into Goron Link, Zora Link, Deku Link, Fierce Deity Link has had the Zelda franchise, even outsiders, in a chokehold for years since its release. It's even an amiibo weapon in Breath of the Wild right now. You can use that sword right now in the most modern Zelda game out to date. We're not counting the Link's Awakening remake. Good game, but we're just not thinking about that one right now. On top of that, the character decisions that you have to make throughout the game, Link is stuck in an extremely scary situation involving a lot of collateral. The moon is currently falling from the sky. This random fairy is gushing to you about plights with their ex-best friend. You're dealing with townspeople with their own emotional turmoil in relation to the world literally ending. On top of being stuck in this foreign land away from all of your friends from Ocarina of Time, because that is the same Link. That is the same Link that left behind Saria. That is the same Link that had to come to Zelda and warn Zelda about Ganondorf in the child timeline. Same one. Little dude's going through a lot right now. And as the player and as the Link in game, it's a lot to handle earning these different transformation masks. Every single one of these masks comes from a deceased individual from their given race, apart from the Fierce Deity mask, which could honestly be a whole video on its own covering what that thing is. And Link has to re-enter the different societies as those people in shock and awe, seeing their deceased loved ones rise again, not even knowing that they're Link half the time. It's a lot to go through for the character and the player, and because of all that, I don't see how this Link doesn't fit in these S tier. No, I haven't brought up the actual list yet, but come on, we knew. You and I knew where I was gonna put this Link. Let's get it over with. We know where this is going. I'm putting this on top of S tier. Now, let's be honest with each other. I haven't really played the Oracle of Ages or Seasons games. I've experienced watching videos on their stories, but in terms of my relation to the game, they're non-existent. And as of the recording of this video, the eShop on the 3DS has not closed yet, and maybe I'll try to get my hands on a copy. Or maybe I'll do what everyone else does and emulate it. I know, oh, it's illegal, but I'll be okay. But being that the in-game model is still similar to Link's Awakening, which I enjoyed, and the illustrations harken back to A Link to the Past, the Link's visual designs there are pretty similar. I really like the instruments and weapons that I see him holding, both in the game and in the illustrations. Enunciating is hard. And again, similar to Link's Awakening, I do like the added touch of adding in-game cutscenes to bring us into our narrative a little bit smoother and provide Link with more of a face and character than he has in previous Zelda games, primarily speaking on the 2D ones. If anyone in the comments has a better argument for why the Oracle of Ages / Seasons Link should be placed any higher, feel free to let me know. That being said though, B tier for me. Holy shit, I had a lot to say here. The Toon Link design from Wind Waker has been known across many a franchise and other Zelda entries, so let me get my opinions on that base design out of the way right now. Toon Link specifically has a really special place in my heart because the Wind Waker was my first Zelda game ever. On my GameCube, early 2000s, it was a good time. At the time, it was an extremely controversial design choice. During this era, a lot of people were looking for more realistic adult Link, while we got our little funny cartoon. And me, I was all for it. I believe the cartoon aesthetic is not only really charming, really colorful, played a lot into the strengths of the GameCube as a console. The cel-shaded visuals made an art style that aged extremely well, and even the HD remake, which only enhanced things like lighting and gameplay function, still holds up extremely well visually. Also, going with the cartoon aesthetic allowed Link to be a lot more emotive and expressive, which plays a lot into his character that I'm going to get into soon, without having to go through as much hardware effort to animate a more fully rendered face. The cartoon aesthetic allowed for Link to be incredibly emotive and give off a message even as a protagonist that does not speak. And visually, as we all know, the best part of this game and the biggest reason to complete the game twice, Pajama Link, or Invisible Tunic Link. I feel like so many of us growing up decided to sit through that second playthrough with content that was essentially the same, strictly to beat Ganondorf in our pajamas. My love for this Link also extends heavily into Link as a character in this game. His entire motivation throughout the grand majority of the story is saving his sister. The Helm King comes through to Outset Island, takes his sister away, and that is his primary objective, for which he is willing to do anything for. Leaves his home as a child, joins a band of pirates, gets launched into a Devil King fortress, fights off literal monsters, dungeon crawls, all to save his sister. And that can relate heavily to the player, because I feel like we all have a special person in our lives that we do all those things for. And if you don't, that's okay. Need huggies? I'm sorry. And probably the most emotional, gripping scene that really set in stone for a lot of us that this Link would go on to be one of our favorites is the sick grandmother scene that I didn't tell my girlfriend about before she got to, and she cried and I was yelled at soon after. Did I know what I was doing? Yeah, it's a sad scene. I also didn't tell her if grandma dies or not. I'm such a bad person, I'm sorry. But when the sky is blackened and you go back home, you see your grandmother depressed and ill, and you need to go and find a fairy to heal her, and she gives you that grandma soup. It touches your heart in a way that Zelda's previous have not, and for my first experience, got me locked to the franchise. Zelda could literally put poop on a cartridge and I'd buy it, I think. All that is to say, easiest S tier of my life. Oh my God. Four Swords Adventure Link. Again, reference back to my opinions on Toon Link. That's how I feel about this Link in terms of its visual design. In-game model went hard too. The top-down version of Toon Link is easily my favorite top-down version of any Link thus far. I love the little floppy animated hat. The way combat looked was really fluid. I also love that they chose Toon Link's voice acting for this. Again, you needed, I believe, 4 different Game Boys to be able to play this game effectively. And I grew up without friends. Empathy, please, thank you. So I don't have a lot of experience with the game, but to my understanding, the different colored costume Links all have different personalities. That's pretty cool. Overall, a really fun title. I have nothing negative to say about it. Still uses one of my favorite designs in the entire franchise. And for me, that makes it a solid B tier. Again, if you have a different opinion on the Link or Links from Four Swords Adventures, let me know. Now, whenever I release a video on Twilight Princess as a game, a lot of y'all are gonna hate me. But let's talk about the Link from it. Design-wise, this is what the people were waiting for. Not necessarily me, because I got into the franchise way later. Wind Waker was my first game. So this was just also cool to see. This design was both an evolution and a fusion of Link's designs up until this point. Going with a more adult, gruff exterior, adding features to his iconic 2 design like underneath chainmail, sturdier looking armor, on top of bringing back his sideswept design from Zelda's prior Link to the Past illustrations from Zelda 1, as opposed to his middle split, brighter blonde design from Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. And it's the hair design that they've stuck with from this Link onward, so I feel like it was a pretty successful choice. This Link also doubles down on the available costumes, giving us the farmer's outfit, which isn't a selectable outfit, but still one that you get, the hero's tunic, the Zora tunic, and the magic tunic, aka money. All splendid designs within their own right, and all deserve extremely high praise. His toolkit is a little lacking in terms of his base weapons. I'm not talking his item. That being said, I always wish there was a way to hold onto the wood sword and keep it for longer periods of time. I just thought it looked neat. But the Master Sword, the Standard Sword, the Ordana Shield, and the Hylian Shield were all nice designs, but weren't, I wasn't jumping out the gym for them, you feel me? That being said, this was the first modern interpretation of what a realistic Hylian Shield would look like, and 10 out of 10. And while the Master Sword design wasn't necessarily the most astounding thing to me, it was extremely cool to go into the Twilight Realm and see it glow. It was sick. And this being one of the first Zelda games where you don't have one Link to look at, you also have a Link dog. dog. Wolf Link was a shift, but I believe it was a successful endeavor. I believe Midna always being your +1 was also pretty necessary. Sometimes I wish you kept the shield on your back from that one quest to kind of sell the idea of you being Link but dog, but I think the design was successful enough on its own. Also, the added look of the Dark Twilight powers that you get on top of your wolf form was some really solid design. On top of this Link goes through an extremely somber story. Similar motivations to what you have in Wind Waker. Your early love interest gets knocked out by a crowd of monsters, swept away from you. Before then, your first mission is a rescue mission. A pack of evil monkeys take your friends away, and you're forced to save them. But even after you find your love interest later in the game, the hit that she took was so hard, she lost her memory of you. Your best friend growing up, your current love interest, doesn't even remember who you are. And growing up playing that game for the first time, that shit hurted. On top of dealing with themes of death, Link also fulfilling this familial big brother role with the young man that you saved from King Bulbin in that epic horse fight, which was sick, by the way. Saving all your friends and family from this near-apocalyptic event. Link having to cope with the fact that Zant wasn't the main villain, even though he very well could have been, but okay, that has nothing to do with the plot. That's me. Anyway, just having to watch Link go from this wholesome village boy to hardened hero knight really speaks to the player, and I can't see myself giving this anything but huge, massive S tier. Finish cap, again, refer to Toon Link feelings, a lot of them apply here, except for the addition of Ezla. Sick design. Talkative bird made into hat, very funny, 10 out of 10, we praise heavily. I do love the buddy aesthetic that Link seems to have at the start of the game with Zelda, going to this fair as friends, adding a little bit more emotional weight to when something happens to Zelda, as opposed to just being a knight of Hyrule. You two seem to be relatively close. And under this high stakes event, I love this dynamic. I also love the relationship between Ezla and Link, between mentor and stupid but determined child. Game's extremely charming. Visuals are on point from both the sprite and illustration perspective. You know how I feel about Toon Link as a design. Overall, extremely solid. And the Picori Blade, neat. I think the Picori Blade plays it a little safe design-wise, but overall, can't hate on it too much. Sliding this one over to A tier. Again, the S tier is currently the most uncommon tier I like on my Link designs and characters, okay? I'm sorry. Now, Skyward Sword. While this title may breed a lot of infighting within the Zelda community, I feel like the Link from this game is often agreed upon to be the best Link that we've had in the franchise so far and after. Skyward Sword's Link has one of the closer relationships to Zelda that we've seen in the franchise. Not that Zelda and Link haven't grown up as best friends in previous titles before, but here it's both emphasized that they are very close as friends, but romantically interested in each other, which plays a big part in Link's motivation to save her when that time comes. Above his duty as the goddess's chosen hero, above his duty to save his home, this Link's primary concern is saving his love interest and best friend. You also see relationships developed between his bully to bestie dynamic character Groose, his other classmates in Skyloft, and the town itself. A lot of the side quests contributing to establishing Link's role in Skyloft and fleshing out the relationships that he shares with the other characters, especially Fledge. We love Fledge here. Paired with the extra attention to detail paid to Link's facial animations, the look of shock and distraught when Zelda has to go into the amber resin for that extended period of sleep, and the melancholic feeling that he has having to let go of Fi as his friend and allow her to slumber in the Master Sword, as is her duty. And every emotional beat throughout the story in between develops this Link as one of the most relatable characters that we've had in the franchise, as the most relatable Link that we've had in the franchise thus far. And in terms of the visual design, we both win and lose in some ways. While we don't have the costumes of games past, we only have our starter casual outfit and then the hero's outfit, the knight's armor that we get later on. The drip comes in the upgrades to the items. Now, obviously upgrading your shields and your items pay benefits to your stats, but that's not really what I'm worried about. Parrying's relatively easy. I don't really need shield stats, but what I do need is the shields to look cooler, which they do when you upgrade them. The changes to the visual designs, to the shields as they develop, really pushes me to be a completionist in that game. Not really a completionist in a lot of games unless it feels worth it. And in Skyward Sword, drip is everything, and I have no intention of drowning. All in all, Skyward Sword Link is a complete, definitive, irrefutable win, and I can't see myself putting it anywhere other than the S tier. If anything, top of S tier makes a lot more sense if I can finagle that. There you go. Now for the DS titles. Honestly, I feel like I can wrap up Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks kind of in a one joint talking point, being that the visual designs are relatively similar. I feel like both the Phantom Hourglass Endgame Sword and the Locomo Sword aren't necessarily that interesting in their design. They're decent, they're cool, but overall, not incredibly exciting to me. You can refer to my opinions on Toon Link for the illustrated design, but IMO, the in-game models are borderline nightmare fuel. I like the top-down perspective. I think he controls really well, but we're not talking talking about the game design itself. We're talking about the Link itself, the visuals for it. I do like the Linebeck Link character dynamic a little bit more in Phantom Hourglass, so I'll probably favor that a little bit more. But overall, as a character, not that interesting on display in either game. I know that there's a lot of character interaction with Link and his constituents in Spirit Tracks, but I'm gonna be honest, I've never played that game. So if you have a differing opinion, please let me know in the comments below. I know that I'm a fraudulent Zelda fan for not having played every game of the franchise, but certain consoles just weren't as available to me, I'm sorry. Plus, growing up with finite income, you kind of had to pick and choose your battles in terms of what games you wanted. Y'all understand, I hope. But from the outside looking in, Spirit Tracks Link just isn't that interesting to me. So we'll rank them accordingly. And at the same time, we're gonna be putting Phantom Hourglass Link in the C tier. And we're just gonna call this little guy Spirit Tracks Link and throw him into the D tier. All right, let's talk about A Link Between Worlds. Now, before you crucify me, I never finished the game. I know, and even worse, I stopped playing right as you get access to low rule, like literally right there. Now, to talk about the visual. The design for A Link Between Worlds is more of a modernization of the Link to the Past design, meaning that it's essentially a soft remake, but a sequel of sorts using the same map as Link to the Past. It's really cool. Love the concept. And the different amount of flair that the items add to the game, the upgrading of the sword, are all fantastic choices. I love the painterliness and the soft oil paint aesthetic to the illustrated design, and the in-game model looks fantastic, especially on the handheld. I normally say especially. Why did I say? Anyway, I also really enjoyed the mosaic design of his wall transformation. Having that difference in aesthetic to apply to his main gameplay mechanic was really cool and had the game stand out, especially when advertising it to new players. The only thing that I don't know too much about is his personality. I do know that he has that special relationship with Ravio, which, big spoiler coming, is Lorulian Link, which makes a lot of sense considering that his item rental shop are all very typical items that Link would normally use in his adventures. And I think that narrative point is sick. But as a character, I'm not too sure that Link has a lot of reaction and emotional reaction to the space around him, and is more so just on another adventure. So with that being said, I feel like the B tier is fitting. If you think differently, feel free to let me know in the comment. Now, not quite a mainline game, but a Link worth talking about. Hyrule Warriors Link. Personality-wise, there's not much to say. The narrative is outside of canon, and the game is more so designed to be a fun hack and slash at its core. But the Link's design in this game is so good. Definitely a departure from what we're used to with Link at this point. The side swipe from more of his classic series titles with the platinum blonde, bright blonde hair from Ocarina. The blue champion-style scarf that he wears on his neck fits him wonderfully. And again, just a departure from what we're used to with Link at this point made this design feel so unique and was an icon of the Zelda-style Musou games. If it wasn't for lack of character development and proper writing for the character, which again, these games don't normally excel in or care about too much, if you're not counting Age of Calamity, I would give it the S tier. But off visuals alone, Hyrule Warriors Link gets an A tier from me. Now, Breath of the Wild's Link. Also, the first Link in the franchise that is named Link no matter what. Meaning that when you select your file, the character is Link. The story is about him, not you as a fill-in for the character. Link is, in this game, now considered definitively his own character, and I feel like the franchise is veering away from having him be a stand-in for the player. Now, if you follow me on Twitch, on twitch.tv/dinnerpants, you know how I feel about Breath of the Wild. You know how passionate I am about that game and about its Link. Now, while not as visually expressive as Skyward Sword's Link, which makes sense considering his memory loss debacle, this Link goes through a lot, especially via his memories. This is also the first game where we get a genuine reason for his constant silence and his stoicism. The reason being that the stress of the weight of the situation that he is meant to handle is extremely heavy. And in order to cope with that stress, he remains focused in all manners. He remains completely silent. Endless communication is an absolute necessity. And in that is able to focus on his task as the hero and as the entrusted knight to Zelda. And while this Link is not the only Link to not be deliberately fated and known to be fated to be the hero of the land, he is the most, I feel like there's a lot of value in him being considered the most talented knight among knights and chosen via his shown ability. We get a lot of Links in the franchise. I much prefer the Legend of Zelda Links that have earned their titles as the hero. And it makes a lot of sense for them to be as combat proficient as they are due to that extensive training. This Link also has one of the more complex relationships with Zelda, being one of dedication through their work, but genuine love and care for the character shown through their actions, especially shown in their memories, showing the lengths that he will go to protect Zelda, even at the risk of his own life. Could it have been just his duty to do so? Sure, but there is an implied emotional weight added in there from Zelda as well towards him. Age of Calamity fleshes this character out a lot more, but I do see it as cheating a little bit to include Age of Calamity as a boon for his character. But if we were to do so, it also shows this Link has a large capacity to be very playful, very friendly, and generally liked by all around him, besides Rivali. But who gives a shit about that dumb bird? And the visuals, extensive. Honestly, there's so much that it's not worth talking about in detail, because I'd be here forever. The different costumes that Link has access to through both amiibos and in-game items, the ability to upgrade costumes, the different weapon varieties. It is truly a create a character level of detail almost with this Link. And the visual design and the cell shaded design for this Link, I think, are fantastic. Not my favorite raw base Link design in the franchise, but it gets carried a lot by both the narrative weight and the ability to cycle through so many different outfits. Again, if you follow this channel, this may come as a huge surprise to absolutely no one, but Breath of the Wild Link goes in the S tier. Last, not least, but not most important to me at least, is gonna be the Link's Awakening Link, specifically from the remake. I'm gonna be real, never played this title. I know it's on Switch, I know I have easy access to it, but again, when you're looking at your own wallet and you're making decisions on what to play, sometimes you leave certain things behind. I'm sure you understand. Personality-wise, this Link matches the Link's Awakening Link from earlier in the tier list. So consider all of those things to be the same. It is a remake through and through. Personality doesn't change. The only difference here is the visual design. I like the toy box look to the game. It's a very different design for Link. I do believe it was a bold choice to change Link's design this much, but for this being a game set in a dreamscape, I think it was a really unique decision and worked well for the title. Something I want to play in the future, and if that's something you want to see from me, let me know in the comments below. To not spend too much time dwelling on a game that I have not played, I'm gonna go ahead and throw A Link to the Past remake Link in the B tier. Clap in my hands, I'm gonna order this tier list, all right? 3, 2, and there it is in all its splendor. This video took a lot longer to record than I thought it would, but we're here now. Thank you guys for watching so much. Again, if you want more content from me, you can subscribe to the channel. You can hit the bell. And if you liked the video, like it. If you didn't, dislike it, please. I only believe in genuine feedback. And if you want to see more on Tears of the Kingdom, the Zelda franchise, or anything from me, feel free to follow me here and on twitch.tv/TheDemands, where we will be streaming Tears of the Kingdom Day 1, hours on hours. I do have a normal streaming schedule, but ignore that for Tears of the Kingdom release. We are going all in on that game because I refuse to spend time existing and wanting to play Zelda and not playing it. That's just how it is. Take it easy. I really appreciate your time. Hopefully you don't hate my tier list too much, but if you have opinions about it, leave them in the comments below. Love y'all. Have an amazing rest of your whatever time zone you're in. Be good to each other. Doses. So Tears of the Kingdom Link just goes S tier whenever that's out, right?